Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Well, last week I did a service on telling, just showing you how you had that you knew you had a strong spirit. And I said last week I would do one this week on showing you if your spirit is weak or not. Now, first of all, let me say you got to have a strong spirit, especially in this world nowadays. Because if not, everything's going to get you down. Satan's going to tear you up. What you hear the government talk about is going to tear you up. I mean, it's getting bad nowadays. But according to the Bible, no matter what happens in the song we just played, no matter what happens, we always got to do something. We can always move forward. But you can't move forward with a weak spirit. A weak spirit, you will fall for anything at any time. A weak spirit, Satan can get to you every second of the day. Now, I got some examples here how to tell if you got a weak spirit. Like I said, last week I did one on a strong spirit. So the first and the most important one is you're overwhelmed. Every little thing upsets you. Satan puts so much stuff in your head at one time, your brain just goes nuts. A lot of people have this problem when they go to bed at night. They just start thinking. They just start thinking. They can't sleep. They can't get a rest. The world and Satan will overwhelm you. Will always give you a problem, always give you an issue, always give you something to think about. And if he can do that, your spirit's weak. Now, don't get me wrong, the everyday hustle and bustle will make you think. But when it's a constant, all the time stuff, when you just feel like you're going crazy, when you feel like nothing you do is right, you're overwhelmed. That's a weak spirit. Because the Bible says, no matter what you go through, God's with you. And at the end, you win. But Satan and people constantly push stuff on you. See, God says, give me your yoke and take my yoke because my yoke is lighter and you can get rest. Well, if you're one of them type of people that can't ever get any rest because you're always thinking about something, you're always overwhelmed about something, that's a weak spirit. Because God says we should smile during tribulations. We should have peace during troubles. That's how you know you got a strong spirit. When nothing bugs you. If you got a weak spirit, everything bugs you. You're just totally overwhelmed on everything. And for that, I'm going to take you to Psalms chapter 24, verse 10. Psalms 61:2. 61:2. And this right here is a good example why I tell you Psalm 61:2. This here is a good example why I always tell you, if you have an issue, give it to God. Don't try to figure things out yourself. Just say, Lord, this is yours. I don't want it, and forget about it. Because if you don't forget about it, you can still be overwhelmed with it. So you got to forget about it. But Psalms 61:2 says this: From the ends of the earth I will cry unto thee, and when my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. That's why I always tell you, give your problems to God. God's the rock. God's a solid foundation. God's the one that can take care of everything. You remember, in the Bible it says, nothing is impossible with God. So no matter how bad you think your problem is, it's not. Your problems are never as bad as you think they are. But as humans and our brains and our emotions, we let a lot of stuff get to us, overwhelm us. You hear it said back in the days, I don't know if they say it nowadays or not, but you make a mountain out of a molehill.
I've heard it.
Something so small and really irrelevant, you make into a big mountain that you can't get past.
In other words, they blow everything out of proportion.
Way out of proportion. And that's what we do. And Satan knows there's a lot of people that does that. Satan knows who he can get, who he can't get. And people, especially if you work in a factory or work around a lot of people, they know what gets your goat. They know what upsets you. They know what makes you mad. They know what makes you cry. And they'll use that every day against you. You know, it's sad, but you see it more and more on the internet. People killing themselves over something somebody said.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very, very weak spirit. Because if somebody says something to you that's so bad that you want to harm yourself, you really need God. You need God in a bad way. Because ain't nothing anybody says to you should bug you. Because remember, the only person that speaks the truth the whole entire time is God. Satan don't tell the truth. People don't always tell the truth. So don't let what you hear offend you. Because God is greater than the world. He's already beat the world. He's already overcome it. And if God lives in you, you've overcome the world too. Now, don't get me wrong. I know sometimes you can hear some stuff that really makes you mad and you want to beat somebody with a baseball bat. But we got to remember, nope, God lives in us. What would God do? Like I told you before, I like that old saying. I can't exactly remember how it goes, but it was something like, what would Jesus do? Mm-hmm. Now, if you're reading the Bible from New Testament, from Matthew's on, it tells you what Jesus would do in that situation. See, Jesus didn't let nothing get to him. Even though he knew what he had to do, he didn't let it get to him. Because that's what he was supposed to do. He did that for us. So we got to understand something. We win. We got to understand words is just words. Back in my day, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names would never hurt me. Well, that sounds childish, but it was right on. It's right on cue. It's right on. Let people talk. Big deal. Let Satan try whatever he's going to try. Big deal. But don't get overwhelmed. Don't get yourself so caught up in something that it takes you over. And that's what happens. That's a sign of a weak spirit. You get overwhelmed easily over words, over something you see, over something somebody did. There's some people that are still holding their grudges that happened 20 or 30 years ago. They can't give it up. But remember, the Bible says if you can't forgive, God can't forgive you. And a lot of people need to forgive to get that overwhelmed off of them. I know sometimes it's hard, but we got to. So being overwhelmed is probably one of the biggest signs that you got a weak spirit. Because you just can't get past whatever happened. And you got to get past it. If Jesus can get past hanging on a cross, we should be able to get past anything. Okay, so we got to keep that in mind. Being overwhelmed, bad sign. Another one, which I see a lot nowadays because you can say just because how the world is or whatever, is hopeless. You're hopeless on everything. You hear a lot of people say, I wish I was just dead. Or I wish this, or I wish that. They're hopeless on everything. To them, life is nothing but misery. Okay? God is our hope. When Jesus hung on that cross, he gave us all the hope we need, all the encouragement we need. Feeling hopeless is just Satan's way of keeping you down. That's all it is. When you feel hopeless, that's Jesus's or Satan's way. I don't know why I keep saying God. It's Satan's way of keeping you down. Now, Satan wants you to stay down. If Satan knows he can keep you down, then he knows he can keep you from God. If Satan can keep your mind thinking over and over again about something, you're not thinking about God. You're not reading your Bible. You're not praying. You're not just having a chit chat with God. And Satan knows that. And let me tell you, if you got any kind of ministry with God, Satan's going to do everything he can to try to destroy that. When you first become a believer, first get saved, you're on fire for God. I mean, nothing bothers you, nothing can destroy you. You're all out there. A year later, that all changes. You're not on fire anymore. Satan can mess with you more. Satan can make you feel hopeless about your life, hopeless about what you're doing. Satan is always going to try to make you feel guilty about something. He's always going to try to accuse you of something. Yes, Lord, thank you. So let me tell you this, and this is more for YouTube, video people. If something in your thought keeps pointing out something that you did wrong and keeps bringing it back to you, bringing it back to you, bringing it back to you, that's Satan. God don't do that. God don't point fingers. God don't keep bringing something back to you that's negative. Okay? Satan does that to keep you hopeless in life, to keep you hopeless about your ministry, to keep you hopeless about a lot of things. If you feel hopeless in your life, it's a weak spirit. You got to get with God. You got to get that spirit built back up. So being overwhelmed, being hopeless, that's two of the things that you got to look out for. And if you have any of them two, get on your knees, get in a quiet place, do something, and start talking to God. Because that is all Satan. God builds you up. He don't tear you down. You know, a lot of people don't realize this. We praise God as much as we can. We thank God as much as we can. If you stop and think about it, God gives you praises every once in a while too. Good job on that. You did my work for me. Thank you. He gives you praises too. But a lot of people don't catch that. But a lot of people don't know how to hear from God. Which I might do a service on that later. A lot of people can't hear from God. But hopelessness makes you feel that no matter what you do or try to do, you fail. And you don't fail at nothing if Jesus lives in you. If God lives in you, you can't fail nothing. Remember, God's your strength when you're weak. God's your encourager when you feel down. If you got a broken heart, God's the first one that knows it. And God's the first one that'll talk to you if you let him. A lot of people don't let him, but you got to let him. So hopelessness. You should never feel hopeless about anything. If you got a trial coming up and you know it's coming, and if you're a child of God, you know it's coming because he'll warn you. Don't let it get you down. Just keep smiling and move on. Don't let Satan make you feel hopeless about anything, because God is our hope. Not Satan, not this world. Okay, so hopelessness is another one. I like this one because I see this one a lot. Self-centered. They got the victim mentality. Everything that goes on in their life, they feel like a victim. We know people like this. No matter what goes on, they're a victim of it. I know quite a few people. I mean, I don't care if it's just something simple. Somebody said their dog is ugly or whatever. I mean, just something simple. They become a victim. They become a victim over everything and anything. They see something on the internet. Oh, I got that. They become a victim of that. They become just anything in the world, even if it don't pertain to them, even if it has nothing to do with them, they accept it. They become a victim of that.
They bring it on themselves.
Yeah, it's all brought onto themselves. You're not a victim of anything. There's nothing in this world that can get to you unless you let it. And if you get the victim mentality, it's everything. Somebody says something, somebody don't say something, somebody looks at you wrong, somebody this, somebody that, you become a victim. You're not a victim. When Jesus hanged on the cross, he made you victorious. He made you full of victory, not victim. God can do all things. And if Jesus lives in you, then you can do all things. So you shouldn't be a victim of nothing. Now, as the world goes, there are some things that happens to people, and they are what they call in courts a victim. But that's totally different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everything upsets you. Everything feels like it's pointed towards you, even if it's not. A lot of people out there, if they see some kind of new disease come on the Facebook or something like that, suddenly they got it. You're making yourself a victim. You're claiming what ain't yours. You're claiming stuff that has nothing to do with you. You're making yourself a victim. And you got to stop doing that, because you're not a victim. You're just a regular person living on this earth. But the problem is you're living worldly and not godly. And that's why you think you're victims to everything that happens. You're not. You're an overcomer. You're victorious in Jesus. God's got you. Where you're weak, he's strong. We got to get that mentality out that everybody's against this and everybody's going to do something, because they're not. So being a victim, always victim. Self-centered. Man, there's people out there that think they're God's gift to the world. They think they're just everything. Sister holier than thou. There's a lot of them out there. And that goes for guys too. Think that the world centers around them. That if they're sick and they're in bed, that the world stops. Well, guess what? No, it don't. And guess what? Ain't nobody in the world that important. Take all these athletes and movie stars and stuff like that. Especially nowadays, you see them on the internet all the time. If they don't like something somebody does, Trump or whatever the case may be, they get on there so self-centered that what they're saying, everybody in the world's going to believe it and going to go along with them. Self-centered, thinking that they're the best looking thing in the world and everybody wants them and nobody can live without them. Well, guess what? There's only one person like that, and that's called God. Everybody else is just human. Ain't nobody better than anybody else. Ain't nobody worse than anybody else. But there's people out there that think they're the man, they're the woman. That everybody should believe everything they say and do. No. If you're self-centered, you ain't got God, you got you. You got your emotions. You got Satan, period. Because nobody is more important than anybody else. You notice when Trump got back the first time he got in, you had all these celebrities come on TV and saying, well, if he wins, we're moving to Canada. Well, praise God, move. Back up and go. Because you're not that important. I'm going to listen to you. That's self-centeredness. They think that they're so special that if they move, everybody will be so distraught. But you notice none of them ever moved. They're still here. Well, apparently their word ain't no good, or they would have left. Let's see. Yeah, and victim mentality, yeah. Fourth way to tell. You're always confused. Nothing makes sense to you. Somebody will tell you something, then somebody will tell you something different, and all of a sudden you don't know which way to go. You're confused about what's going on in your life or what's going on around you. Nothing makes sense to you. That's confusion. When you try to figure out something over and over and over and over and over and over again, and you still come out with the same result, then you're wondering, why ain't this working? That's Satan. Satan wants to keep you confused. Again, if Satan can keep you down or confused, he's got it. He's winning. We don't have to figure out stuff, people. We don't have to figure out nothing. All we got to do is say, okay, Lord, I don't know what's going on here. You do. I'm seeking your wisdom. You got it. Now you know what to do. There's nothing to be confused about.
And if they're confused about that, all they got to do is keep back, keep their mouth shut, don't think about it, and it all goes quite smoothly.
Just drop it. That's it. Just drop it. If you drop it, everything's better. But they get confused easy. Every time they turn around, they're confused about something. They can't understand something. Now, I get it. There's stuff in life we can't understand. I'm not the smartest person in the world. You throw a math problem at me, I'm done. I'll be like, I ain't got no idea. You do it. But I'm not going to sit there and try to confuse myself and figure that out. And that's the same way with worldly problems. That's the same way with spiritual problems. That's the same way with marriage problems and all. Don't try to figure it out. Let God figure it out. That's why he's here. God's here. He says, I am here. And he says, I will take care of all your needs. Well, if you're confused about something, you honestly need help. So just ask God, hey, what's going on here? Why is this happening? And let God tell you. Let God tell you what's going on. Let him show you what's going on. And did I mess up? No, I ain't messed up yet. So yeah, and everything's complicated in your life. Even the easiest thing in the world you find complicated. You try to do something, it don't work out. You try over and over again, you still can't get it. Everything in life you do is complicated for you to do it. When it shouldn't be. Because a lot of things you're doing in life you shouldn't be doing at all. Again, give it to God and let it go. So complicated confusion is another sign of weak spirits. Because anything that you do will confuse you on the results.
Isn't confusion from the enemy anyways?
Confusion is always from the enemies.
Yeah, it says in the word that God gave us a clear mind.
Yes,
So-
God gives you a clear mind. And since you said that, I want to bring this up. If you're asking God about something, maybe it's some kind of a relationship, or maybe it's money, or whatever the case may be. If you're asking God for something and you don't hear from him, and you're confused about that situation, but suddenly you get an answer, but that answer don't set right with you, it sounds like it'd make it more complicated. That's not God. As Crystal just said, when God gives you an answer, it's clear and precise. There's no confusion to it. All right, I'll give you an example. A long time ago, I was asking God about a relationship. And the more I thought about this, the more confused I was about this. And I was like, wait a minute. And God flat out told me one day, he says, understand something. If I give you an answer, there's no confusion to it. He said, so if you're still confused about an answer you get, it wasn't from me.
There you go.
I said, thank you for that, Lord. Because now I know if I'm trying to get an answer to something, because trust me, yes, Lord, if you speak something out of your mouth loudly, I don't care if it's even this loud, Satan can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And Satan's going to act on that. Satan is going to try to give you answers to make you think it's God doing it. But if that sounds confusing to you, or that sounds complicated, it didn't come from God. It came from Satan. Again, if Satan can keep you mind busy, He's got you. So with God, nothing is complicated. It's direct, it's clear, and it's easy.
Yeah.
It's so simple a caveman can do it, as they said back in the days. That's how God works. Confusion is not God. Complicated is not God. God straight out. And trust me, God will not change his mind. If you ask God a question today, and then tomorrow you get up and ask him the same question, you're going to get the same answer.
Same answer as yesterday.
Satan's vice versa. If Satan's giving you an answer to something, he'll say one thing, and then tomorrow if you ask again, he'll say something different. That's confusion. That's complication. God's not that way. God is straight and direct. And what he says today, he will say next week and next year. He don't change over.
Today, tomorrow, and forever.
Yeah. God is saying yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He's not going to change. Short-tempered. This is Satan's favorite one. They get you mad about everything and like that. I don't care what it is, you'll get mad about it. I know a lot of people, as they say, has got a fuse that long. And if you light that fuse in seconds, they're mad. Short-temperedness is not God. I mean, think about this, people. And I know I keep bringing this up, but it's the best example I can come up with. Short-temperedness is bad. That means you'll get mad at anything, at any time, anywhere. Jesus wasn't short-tempered. When he hung on that cross, he actually said, "Forgive them, Father, for they don't know what they're doing." He should have been the one that was able to get mad. But there's some people out there that get mad over anything. We got a guy at work. Man, short-tempered. You put him on something he likes, he's mad about it. You put him on something he don't like, he's mad about it. You say something, he's mad about it.
Just a flat out unhappy person.
Flat out
Yeah, he's
unhappy
miserable.
person. Short-temperedness. That's a sign of a weak spirit. Because you'll let anything get to you. You'll let anything make you mad. Even if it's something that's not even said to you, you get mad. They'll get mad about it. Satan wants you, all these that I've read off so far, he wants you, all these. Because if he can keep you like this, he's got you. You're not hearing from God no more. You're getting away from God. And that's what he wants. There should not be nothing that makes you mad. And I know I've said this already, but I mean, it's got to be said. If you get mad because somebody said something, man, come on. It's just words. Words can't hurt you unless you let them.
Sometimes I think they can because, there is the power of death and life in the tongue.
There is. But if Jesus lives in you, what truth is there to it? I mean, I'm a pastor. I get people tell me stuff all the time. I don't care. See, there's a time to care, a season to care, and a season not to care. And if somebody says something to you, so what? The only person that I got to make happy, the only person that I got to see that I'm right with is God. I've had people tell me I can't be a pastor because of the way I dress. Really? What's that got to do with anything? I've had people tell me I can't be a pastor because I have fun. Really? What makes a difference if I have fun or not? And I've had people flat out tell me they don't respect me and they don't like me. I don't care. The only person I got to please is God. The only person that I got to take anything off of is God. But being short-tempered is bad. You're getting mad over everything and you're living your life miserably because you're mad all the time. What's there to be mad about? Sure, your kids do something that makes you angry and you got to get punished for it or whatever. Sure, that happens daily. But don't hang on to that. And a lot of people do. They hang on to that anger.
Mhm.
Then after a while, their heart gets hard. Their heart gets hard. I'm just learning how to speak English. They get hard-hearted.
Yeah, the
And
Bible
then-
says don't let yourself go down or be angry when the sun goes down. Like you're supposed to solve the problem
Solve the problem before you go to bed.
before you go to bed. There it is.
Solve the problem before you go to bed. If you're in a fight with a loved one, solve it before you go to bed.
Yeah,
Do not go to bed angry.
right.
Because if you go to bed angry, you wake up angry.
And you open the door for Satan to squeeze in there.
Wide open.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of couples fight over something so stupid. So stupid. I watched a I seen a video the other day it was showed to me and I thought this is a perfect example. This husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, stopped and got something to eat. Well, they got a sub and they split it. So the guy picked up half the sub and went to hand it to the woman. And just right off the top, she's like, "Why you give me that?" He's like, "Huh? Why you give me that? Why you give me that half?" He said, "Well, it don't make a difference." So he went and gave her the other half. She didn't take it. She said, "No, I want to figure out why you're trying to give me that first half." Now, what makes a difference? It's the same sub, same size, the whole 9 yards. But there's people out there like that. They want to make an argument over everything. They want to get mad over everything.
It's just ridiculous.
What makes a difference? And that's the same way with words. What makes a difference? The only person I got to see fit in is God. The only person I got to be right with is God. If somebody don't like me, sorry about that, but move on. Okay, so short-temperedness, that's bad. In Proverbs 6:16, must be on the wrong side again. Let me try here. What do I got this one marked for? Oh. Well, in Proverbs 16:32 is where I'm going to take you now. Somehow I mismarked my book. Okay, Proverbs 16:32 says this. He that's slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. So, if you're slow to anger, you're better than strength. You're better than mighty. Being slow to anger is how God wants us to be. Remember, God says if you have a problem with your brother, go sort it out. Now, that don't mean just family. That means everybody. So, if somebody says something or somebody does something, don't be quick about it. Don't have that short temper. Don't be quick about it, about getting mad about it. Because we got to understand something. A lot of times people say something out of anger. Or a lot of times somebody will say something or do something because they're hurt. And if you notice, anybody that hurts always wants to try to hurt someone else.
Yeah, my life's
people
miserable,
hurt
so I'm
people.
gonna make theirs miserable.
Yeah,
Or that
exactly. That's how people are. So we got to stop and understand something. Why is this person saying that, or why is this person doing it? Okay? And people nowadays will get mad at you over something that's not true. Somebody will tell them a lie about you, and then all of a sudden they're mad at you. This happened with Pastor Jack. There used to be a lady that come here with her, was her grandson or granddaughter?
Cheryl?
No, daggone it. Trying to think of their name. Frank's wife.
Oh.
Yeah, well, anyway, her and her granddaughter come to church all the time. I mean, they was here every Sunday. And somebody told this lady that Jack was related to the granddaughter. Now, there's some kind of family feud going on or something like that. But Jack didn't know. Well, this lady come and got a hold of Jack and ripped him a new one, asking why he didn't tell her that they was related to that girl. And Jack says, wait. I don't know that I'm related to her. I didn't know that. Well, anyway, the woman stopped coming to church because of that. That's how Satan works. You hear something, may be true, may not be true, but you're going to believe it, and you're going to get mad, and you're going to stop doing stuff that you normally did.
Yeah.
Now, I can't remember the lady's name, but yeah, it got pretty bad. We don't know why. Okay, we don't know why people's like this. We don't know why people do this. We don't know why people believe everything they hear. So we got to try to understand what's going on with them. That's why God says, be slow to temper. Be slow to anger. Okay, let's find out why this is going on first. Like I said, somebody may lie to them about something. They may be in a bad mood. They may be having a bad life or whatever. Our job is to pick people up, not to put them down. Just like God does us. He picks us up. He don't put us down. So be slow at anger. If you're slow at anger and you try to get more understanding in your life, that makes you stronger. That gives you more peace in your life. That makes things easier for you. So we got to be slow at anger. This one I like real well because you can always tell when somebody's got a weak spirit. They have fear. Lots and lots of fear. They're afraid to talk to people. They're afraid to do this. They're afraid to do that. They're afraid of this. They're afraid of that. Fear is what Satan loves to use. Satan wants you to be afraid of everything and anything. Me and Krista was talking earlier when we was talking about Smith Wigglesworth. When the devil himself come in front of Smith Wigglesworth, started shaking his bed, moving his bed around. Then he popped up in front of Mr. Wigglesworth. He already knew who it was. Now, that's the stuff Satan will do, or one of his accomplices will do to try to get fear out of you. You got to remember, Satan and all Satan's helpers thrive on fear. The more afraid they can make you, the better off the chance they have to do whatever they want to do. Well, Smith Wigglesworth, that didn't happen. As soon as he realized it was Satan, he told him, get out. And then when Satan's way out, he goes, no, wait. Put my bed back where it belongs. And Satan had to. There's a lot of people afraid of everything. You know, there's some people that's so afraid they won't even go outside. You're afraid of getting hurt. You're afraid of not getting loved. You're afraid of wrecking a car. You're afraid somebody's going to hurt you. I mean, there's all types of fear out there. That's Satan.
Yep.
Because remember, God says he did not give you a spirit of fear.
Yep.
God don't want you to be afraid of nothing. Because remember, God's got your back. So what's there to be afraid of? The other night, Thursday night, matter of fact, coming home from work, I started walking down here, and all of a sudden, I heard a pack of coyotes.
Oh.
And they sound like they was no more than probably 30 yards away from me, if that. I mean, it was that clear and that close. And I was like, ooh, coyotes. Now, somebody else would have ran to their house. Now, I wasn't scared, but I was concerned. When you're talking about a pack of coyotes, that's concerning.
Yeah, boy.
But I wasn't feared. Why? Because I had dominion over them. Read Genesis, first chapter. Genesis, first chapter says, and let us give them dominion over everything.
Yep.
What's that mean? That means you should not be afraid of nothing because you're the boss. If Jesus lives in you, you're the boss. You shouldn't be afraid of dogs. You shouldn't be afraid of people. You shouldn't be afraid of this or that or whatever. Let me tell you something. And I learned this real quick when I was a police officer. You get called to a lot of dangerous calls.
Yeah.
You get called to situations that you can get killed over. And if you have the spirit of fear, you're done. If you're facing Satan or one of his little helpers and you show fear, you're done. You should not fear nothing. Like Smith Wigglesworth, if Satan shows up in front of you, tell him go away. If one of his little helpers show up, go away. If you're afraid about something, pray about it. Get that fear out of you. You should not be afraid of nothing. We have dominion over angels. We have dominion over Satan. We can tell him, go back to hell where you belong.
A lot of people just don't know that.
A lot of people don't know that. You're right.
Yeah.
A lot of people ain't familiar with that. And
Right.
that's how you know they got a weak spirit. Because they're afraid. There should be nothing on this earth that you're afraid of or off this earth. The only thing that you should fear is God and God himself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing you should fear. And God don't want you to fear him. He don't want you to fear him. God is love. Something that's love is not going to hurt you. So fear is another one. And I believe I got that back here in Job. In Job, chapter 4, verse 5. 4, verse 5. But as now is upon thee, and thou faintest, it touches thee, and thou art troubled. What's that mean? Put in Junction City terms, as Pastor Jack used to say, if you see something that's scary, and you let that scary touch you, you have now become part of it. You should not fear nothing. If Satan's trying something, sorry, dude, don't work that way. Perfect example. Perfect example. I've said this before. Years ago, I was in a car accident, and everybody knows this. This is more for video land. I was in a car accident, and my ankle was down bone to bone. All right, but I wasn't gonna believe that. I wasn't gonna believe that. I wasn't gonna let Satan tell me different. And then, as y'all know, God healed that. Now, after that, every once in a while, Satan would give me a symptom of my ankle. And I'd be like, no. I seen it, and I know for a fact the Lord healed it. See, Satan was trying to bring me trouble. No. I know that was healed. And boom, it went away. If you accept fear, and as we said earlier, Satan's good at this. If you accept fear from something, Satan feeds on that. And Satan makes that little thing suddenly into a big thing. Okay? We can't accept it. We cannot accept fear. If God's in you and God's behind you, what can touch you? Only what you let. I know, like she said, a lot of people don't know that. You have dominion over everything. So you should not be afraid of anything. Nothing at all. And the last one I'm going to do is you're always wore out and exhausted. You just got nothing left. Why? Because you let everything bug you and it drains you.
It really does.
When you have a trial or tribulation that comes onto you and you think so much about what's going on, it mentally exhausts you. It just makes you weak. It just takes all the fight out of you. You see this a lot. Exhaustion is a sign of a weak spirit. Now, don't get me wrong. There is times that you do a lot of overtime at work and stuff like that, and it just physically wears you out.
It's two different things.
That's two different things. Sometimes you're going to be physically wore out. But if you get mentally exhausted and depression sets in, confusion sets in and all, that's not God. That's a sign of a weak spirit. Because God gives you energy when you don't have none. When you're weak, God is strong. When you're confused, God is clear. So you should never be mentally exhausted. You should not let something get on you so heavy that you're just done. You have nothing left. That's a weak spirit. You're just so drained, there's nothing. Okay? That's a sign of a weak spirit. Where you are weak, God is strong. Whatever's going on, God's got you. God says, I supply all your needs. Now, he's just not talking physically. He's talking spiritually and mentally, too. All your needs is anything that you need, no matter where it's at. God is there. Okay, so a recap real quick. The ways to tell that you have a weak spirit. You're overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed. The world's took over, and you can't deal with it anymore. You're hopeless. Nothing ever seems to go your way. Nothing ever seems to go right for you. You're just always down. Self-centered, and you got a victim mentality. You're not a victim. You're a conqueror. You're confused all the time. Everything confuses you. What's going on with you confuses you. People around you confuse you. That's a weak spirit too. Short-tempered. Sign of a weak spirit. If anything and everything makes you mad, you ain't got enough of God in you. Enough of God in you. You need to get more of God into you. Fearful. You're afraid of everything and anything. Remember, God did not give you a spirit of fear. And you're always exhausted. That's the signs of a weak spirit. If you have one or more of these signs, you need to get with God. You need to get back in your Bible. You need to find out why. Because remember, Satan will bring every one of these that I just read to you on you. Some way or another, he'll try. If you accept it, it happens. Okay? You should not be any of these. These things should not be part of your vocabulary or part of your body or part of your spirit. You have a strong spirit. When you accepted God into your life, now I know this is a strange way of putting it, but that's the first thing that popped in my head. When you accepted Jesus in your life, you just became Superman. Because when you accepted God in your life, he now lives into you. And if God conquered everything, you can too. But that's why you got to have a strong spirit. That's why you got to have a lot of faith and a lot of trust. Believe me, I've done stuff that God's asked me to do that I just, I don't know about that, Lord. But if you trust him, it's done. Because remember, God says in the Bible, he goes before you. And he said he's always there for you. So nothing out of any of these should be part of your vocabulary or even be in your life. If you're confused about something, whatever the case may be, ask God. All right, Lord, how do I handle this? What do I do in this case? Let him tell you. Ask for his wisdom. He'll give it to you. Trust me, I've had to ask many times. So if you got a weak spirit, get with God. Find out what's causing that so you can get it fixed. God will reveal it to you. If you're afraid of something, ask God why you're afraid. If you're confused, ask God why you're confused. If you're overwhelmed, ask God why you're overwhelmed. He'll tell you if you listen. Get your strength back. Remember, we are the sons and daughters of the Almighty. The Almighty is a strong foundation. The Almighty is right there. Nothing phases him, nothing should phase us. Okay? We got to keep that in mind. If you have a weak spirit, find out why. Get it taken care of.